Welcome back to the Deep Dive, where we try to extract the signal from the noise of AI research.
Good to be here.
Today, we're jumping into InternVL3, exploring advanced training and test time recipes for open-source multimodal models. Quite a mouthful.
It is, but the core idea is pretty exciting.
Definitely. So for the quick summary, InternVL3 is all about this native multimodal pre-training, learning from text and vision together right from the start.
Yeah, none of that post-hoc stitching things together. It's built in.
Key innovations: variable visual position encoding, V2PE for handling longer visual stuff.
Right, and advanced post-training like SFT and MPO, plus some clever test time scaling.
And the big result, InternVL3 78B hit 72.2 on MMMU. That's a new record for open source MLLMs.
Making it really competitive with the big proprietary models while still being good at language.
Plus, they're releasing the data and weights. Open science, which we love to see.
Absolutely.
So our mission today is to really dig into the tech, the benchmarks, the details AI researchers and ML engineers need.
Exactly. Staying up to date in this field is crucial.
And our source is the InternVL3 paper itself. Let's get into it.
Okay, so maybe let's start with why this native approach is such a big deal. For ages, the standard was taking a text-based LLM.
And kind of bolting on vision capabilities afterwards, right? The post hoc method.
Exactly. And the paper points out, that comes with a lot of headaches, alignment issues, needing extra data like OCR.
Yeah, and complex training schedules, it always felt a bit clunky. Like you said, grafting vision onto a text expert.
It is. And resource intensive too. Multiple training stages, lots of compute, just inefficient.
Which brings us to InternVL3's main idea. This native multimodal pre-training. How's it different right from the beginning?
Well, the key is they train it on both text-only stuff and a whole mix of multimodal datasets, images, and text together in one single pre-training stage.
So not text first, then vision. It learns both simultaneously.
Precisely. It sees language and vision constantly together, learning those connections from day one.
That feels much more, organic, like learning how language and the world relate naturally.
It is. You avoid needing separate encoders and complex glue layers to try and bridge the gap later. It's a more unified foundation.
Makes sense. Okay, let's talk specifics. The paper gets into some cool architectural stuff. First up, variable visual position encoding, V2PE. Why was this needed?
Right, V2PE. The core problem it solves is handling much longer visual inputs. Think like high-res images with tons of detail, or even video clips.
Traditional positional encoding struggles with that.
Yeah, because it usually increments position the same way for every token text or image patch. V2PE decouples them.
How does it do that? Equation 3 in the paper goes into it.
Okay, so for text, the position index just goes up by 1, like normal. But for visual tokens, the increment is the smaller fractional value, delta. Delta is always less than 1.
So the position for visual stuff moves slower, allowing more visual tokens before you hit the context limit.
Exactly. Their positional embeddings don't shoot up as fast, so you can pack in way more visual information.
The paper says delta is constant within one image, and they train with a set of different delta values, like 14 down to 1256.
Right. Keeping it constant within an image helps preserve relative spatial info. Training with different deltas makes the model flexible.
So at inference, you can pick the best delta for how long the visual input actually is.
Precisely. Optimize it for the task. And if you set delta to 1, it just becomes standard positional encoding. Very neat.
Okay, so V2PE handles the where for long visual sequences. What about the learning objective? The multimodal autoregressive formulation.
Yeah, so it's still the standard predict the next token objective, left to right autoregressive. That's equation 5.
But there's a twist, right? Equation 6 mentions the loss calculation.
Yes, the crucial part is the loss. The updates to the model weights only happen based on the text tokens.
So the visual tokens act purely as context, conditioning the text prediction.
Exactly. The model learns to generate text that's relevant to the visuals it's seeing, but it's not trying to, say, predict the next image patch.
It's learning the relationship between vision and language that way.
Precisely, building that integrated understanding.
They also mentioned square averaging in equation 7 for token weighting. What's that about?
It's about tackling bias. Simple averaging can make the model prefer really short or really long sequences. Square averaging weights token loss based on sequence length.
So it learns more evenly from examples of different lengths.
Right, a more balanced approach.
Gotcha. Now, a core part of this native idea is joint parameter optimization, highlighted in equation 8. All parameters updated together.
Yes, this is huge. Unlike post-hoc methods where you might freeze the original LLM or just tweak some layers.
InternVL3 updates everything. The vision parts, the language parts, the connecting bits, all at once.
Exactly. On the combined text and multimodal data, everything learns and evolves together.
That sounds like it would lead to much tighter integration between modalities.
That's the goal. A truly unified multimodal representation from the get-go.
Okay, let's talk data. What went into this massive pre-training phase? They mentioned multimodal and pure language data.
Yeah, for multimodal, they started with their InternVL 2.5 corpus captions, VQA, math, OCR, documents, dialogue, medical images, a real mix.
And they updated all the weights using that.
Right. Plus, they added new stuff, GUI interactions, using tools based on vision, 3D scenes, even video comprehension data, really broadening the scope.
And the pure language data.
That built on the InternLM 2.5 text corpus, adding more open source text datasets. The aim was to keep the core language skills really strong: reasoning, knowledge, math generation.
So it doesn't lose language ability while gaining vision.
Exactly. It needs to be great at both.
How do they balance the two? The paper mentions a 1.3 ratio of language to multimodal data.
Yeah, they experimented and found that 1 part language to 3 parts multimodal data gave the best all-around performance. That led to about 200 billion tokens total for pre-training.
Wow, that's a lot of data. Okay, so after pre-training, there's post-training. Supervised fine-tuning, SFT, first. What changed from InternVL 2.5?
They kept some good techniques like JPEG compression and square loss reweighting, but the main upgrade was much higher quality and way more diverse SFT data.
More complex tasks.
Definitely.
Right.
More examples for tool use, 3D, GUIs, long context, video, scientific diagrams, creative writing, multimodal reasoning. A big expansion.
How much more data are we talking?
Went from 16.3 million samples up to 21.7 million. A significant jump in curated, high-quality fine-tuning examples.
Okay, then after SFT goes Mixed Preference Optimization, MPO. What's a problem MPO solves?
It tackles the training inference gap. You know, during training, the model sees the perfect ground truth token by token.
But at inference, it's generating based on its own previous outputs, which might be wrong.
Exactly, and that can really mess up things like chain of thought reasoning. One mistake early on can derail the whole process.
So MPO tries to align the model's own generation tendencies with the good outputs.
Precisely. It uses both positive chosen and negative rejected examples. The MPO Objective, Equation 9, combines 3 losses.
Which are?
Preference loss, LP, using DPO, basically teaching it, pick this one, not that one. Then quality loss, LQ, using BCO to understand the absolute quality of a response.
Okay.
And finally, generation loss, LG, which is just the standard LM loss on the good examples, making sure it can actually produce them.
And they used about 300K samples for this, based on model rollouts?
Yeah, generated from the SFT models themselves to create those preferred rejected pairs across different domains.
Clever. All right, moving to inference time. They use best of N evaluation with a Critic model, visual PRM-D. What's that for?
Best of N is a way to boost reasoning. You generate multiple possible answers, say N of them.
And then have another model pick the best one.
Exactly. Visual PRM-8B is that Critic, specifically trained for reasoning and math problems.
How does it judge? Does it just look at the final answer?
No, that's the clever part. Equation 14 shows it scores each step of the reasoning process. It looks for correctness along the way.
Ah, so it evaluates the journey, not just the destination.
Pretty much. The overall score is the average score across all steps in the solution. It's trained on a data set specifically for judging reasoning steps.
That sounds powerful for improving reasoning without retraining the main model. Now, training these monsters, the infrastructure section mentions big upgrades to their InternEVO framework.
Oh yeah, training at this scale, thousands of GPUs, billions of parameters. It's a massive engineering challenge.
What were the key tricks?
They made their shorting strategies way more flexible, decoupling the VIT, MLP, and LLM parts better, allows for more overlap between computation and communication.
And lots of parallelism options.
Data, tensor, sequence, pipeline, and combinations, plus techniques to dynamically balance the load between processing, vision, and text tokens, which can be very different.
Right, because image patches might need way more compute than text tokens.
Exactly. They also added optimizations like head parallel and sequence parallel to handle really long sequences, up to 32K tokens.
And the result? Faster training.
Significantly faster. They report speedups of 50% to 200% compared to training InternVL 2.5. Huge efficiency gains.
Okay, the payoff. experimental results. Figure 1 gives the big picture. What does it tell us?
It really shows InternVL3 consistently outperforming previous open source models across the board. And critically, it's right up there, competitive with or even beating models like GPT-4o and Claude 3.5 Sonnet on many benchmarks.
That 72.2 on MMMU really stands out for an open source model.
It's a new state-of-the-art, yeah. Shows what this native approach can achieve.
Let's scroll down. Table 2. Multimodal reasoning and math. How did it do?
Very strong performance. MMMU, MathVista, MathVerse, consistent gains, especially as the model size increased.
And the best of N strategy helped.
Definitely. Using visual PRM as a critic provided significant boost, particularly on those reasoning-heavy tasks.
Makes sense. Table 3. OCR, charts, documents, tasks needing tight vision text integration.
Again, really solid results. Competitive or better than alternatives across things like AI2D, Chart QA, TextV QA, DocV QA. The larger 78B model especially shines on OCR Bench and VCR, where that deep integration really matters.
What about reasoning across multiple images? Table 4.
Consistent improvements over older models on benchmarks like BLink and MMT Bench. The 2B model saw big gains, showing better cross-image understanding. The 78B is competitive, though they mention Mirror Bench is still a challenge.
And real-world comprehension, also in Table 4.
Promising results even for the small 1B model. The 78B model gets top-tier performance, holding its own against GPT-4o on some tricky real-world Q&A.
Table 5. Comprehensive evils like MME, MBench, and also hallucination benchmarks.
For hallucinations, it performs competitively on Hallucination Bench, showing improvements overall, but maybe slight dips on a couple of specific ones. Still an area needing work generally.
Visual ground connecting words to image regions. Table 6.
The smaller models do well on RefCocoa. Performance improves with scale, but seems to plateau a bit for the largest models.
Why is that?
They suggest maybe not enough specific grounding data in the pre-training mix to push it further at the very top end.
Multi-Lingual Capabilities. Table 7.
Consistent gains over prior versions on MMMB and Multi-Lingual MMBench. Performance is competitive with or better than other top multilingual MLLMs. Good news for broader applications.
Video understanding. Table 8.
Clear improvements with scale on video MME, MV Bench, etc. The larger models compete well with other open source video models, and they're getting better at long-range video reasoning too, based on CG Bench.
How about DOI grounding? Table 9. Seems specialized.
Yeah, but important. They did well on ScreenSpot, with the 72B model slightly ahead of others. Good scaling on the harder ScreenSpot V2 suggests pretty robust at reading complex UI layouts.
And finally, spatial reasoning. Table 10. Crucial for robotics, navigation.
Stellar results here. InternVL3 models lead the open source pack on VSI Bench, and the bigger ones even outperform GPT-4o. Really strong on things like counting objects or judging distances and scenes.
Wow, that's impressive across the board.
Yeah.
So wrapping up, what's the big takeaway from InternVL3 for the AI researchers and ML engineers listening?
I think the main point is that this native multimodal pre-training is a genuinely powerful approach. It's pushed open source MLLMs to a new level of performance, making them truly competitive with top proprietary models across an incredible range of tasks.
Right, and it achieves this while maintaining strong language abilities, which isn't always a given when you add modalities.
Exactly. It demonstrates a path towards more integrated, capable, and, thanks to the architecture, potentially more efficient multimodal AI.
And the open source release of data and models is huge for the community.
Absolutely. It lowers the barrier for everyone to build on this work, experiment, and push the field forward, democratizing access to these advanced models.
Okay, so to leave our listeners with something to think about, given how well this native pre-training worked for vision, what other modalities or capabilities should be baked into foundation models right from the start?
That's a great question. Audio, touch, action simulation. And how do we figure out the right mix of unimodal versus multimodal data as we aim for more general intelligence? Lots to explore there.
Definitely food for thought. We strongly encourage everyone to check out the paper, the code, the data. It's all out there. Thanks for joining us on the Deep Dive.
My pleasure.